Hi, my name's Joonas Kiviranta and I'd like to bring up a topic that's been discussed again lately in the public discourse, and that is how to attract talent into Finland, and actually more specifically, how to retain foreign students who come here to, let's say, get their master's thesis or their master's degree, and how to retain them at a higher percentage in Finland than currently. Because the problem is that only roughly 50% of foreign master students or students in general have found a job in Finland after 1 year after graduating. And that's significantly lower than for the native population. And one part of that is a quarter of students roughly move away from Finland, of foreign students, and then a part do something else, just haven't found a job. And my understanding of the situation is that there are two main themes that pop up quite frequently in surveys as to why this may be. The first of which is lack of networks. So as a student, when you come to Finland, you sort of have to start from scratch. You only have 2 years to build up this network of people, whereas Finns who start from the bachelor degree have the entire 5 years, and they maybe been in a summer job somewhere else. So that's a challenge. And then second of all, the other theme that comes up quite often is the lack of language skills. And I'd like to hopefully try to tackle that. Just about myself shortly, why I'm interested in things like this is I have an international background, always went to an international school, studied at Aalto University then in Helsinki, or Espoo to be more specific. And even during that time, I tried to make a point in attending courses on, let's say, multicultural teamwork, basic work psychology. And after that, I spent 3.5 years in first in Germany and then in Sweden before coming back to Finland with a licentiate in technology in my back pocket. So I've had my own experiences emigrating somewhere and learning a new language and speaking a foreign language at work. You may be surprised that in Sweden it was actually, I'm not saying it was mandatory, but it was definitely a big plus to speak Swedish at the workplace. You may not have that impression of Sweden, but this wasn't only my workplace where it was sort of like a semi-requirement. We'll come back to that later. And second of all, yeah, just the discussion is usually Finnish frontline tech people or politicians sort of opining what should be done, and then sort of the people who are actually experiencing this don't have their voices heard that greatly. So I mean, that would be great if I could reach out somehow and inspire you to speak up. Just on a tangent, I happen to be a politician in the Finns party, and there's this local election coming up, and I'm a candidate. I'm not going to stop you from voting for me, but this is not exactly the point of this video. So to start with the first issue, which is the lack of networks, just to give a basic overview of what's already being done and what I think are just great principles is, first of all, we have to find ways that companies and universities collaborate. And one great way at Aalto University was that there was this product development course for master's students where companies would approach the course with a specified problem, and then a group of students would solve it throughout the course of the year. It was a quite long course, there were many companies involved, and then at the end there was this sort of fair where people would then share their project and how they work through it. But this is a really good way to concretely involve the local companies and to bring them together with the students who now, they happen to be also partially foreign. So this is a great way for promoting the creation of networks for foreign students. Also at Aalto University, the guilds, just the different subject guilds, would have international tutors, just help guide people just with basic things. I was also one of those international tutors for a while. And of course, then generally speaking, so apart from courses and this international tutoring, then companies, of course, can approach the university. Of course, they do this frequently, of course, because they want to find good people to work for them. And somehow, like in the Helsinki region, I didn't experience, of course, being the Finnish-speaking person that I am, I didn't experience that it would have been a major problem, that there were no companies that wouldn't, let's say, accept English-speaking people into summer jobs. Because at a place where I had a summer job, we also had English-speaking people. I think it is up to the company if they want to go through the effort of, let's say, doing the marketing also in English to sort of signal that they're open for business for, people who don't happen to speak Finnish. And let's say you're in the IT business, like I actually have a pretty hard time imagining that they would discriminate like English-speaking people. But of course, this can vary. This can vary from place to place. You can have certain industries, certain cities where it might be more difficult for understandable reasons, I would argue, in certain cases. Of course, you can have sort of the first barrier where you have to sort of hire the first person who just is not Finnish, and even if it weren't a problem. But there are certain environments in which it is perfectly reasonable to require people to speak Finnish. And that is, for instance, if you work in a factory where all the instructions are in Finnish, your colleagues speak mainly Finnish, some English, probably. Of course, Finns are fairly good at English, internationally speaking. But it's really not exactly the same, perhaps, let's say Jyväskylä, than in the Helsinki region. So there are going to be some barriers if you don't speak the local language. That's sort of how it is. And one solution that some people are advocating for is to increase the influence of the English language in Finnish society. And I don't think that's a sustainable strategy for a multitude of reasons. We'll come back to that. But now, just to step into the next problem about lacking Finnish language skills. So if we would like to build a system that would promote the learning of Finnish, I think there's quite a lot we should do differently. Okay, first of all, attitudes in terms of, let's say, I'm at a workplace and a colleague of mine whom I know is, let's say, from the Netherlands, and they start speaking in Finnish to me, and I spot like a grammatical error or something, like I should not, because of that, I should not switch over to English, sort of to try to accommodate them, because it's really weird. Like, first of all, like if a person's not from the UK or the US, chances are that their native language is not English. So if somebody makes the effort to try to speak Finnish, like, man, like, first of all, I'm pretty bloody impressed. And that's also probably a signal that they want to speak Finnish. Like, this is my first sort of thing. Like, if you want to figure out if somebody wants to practice Finnish or not, you should probably ask them. Pretty simple. Like, this is the best way to take this to an individual level. Just ask, like, how do you want to do this? Like, Is it okay if we speak Finnish among each other over here? And I guess there's probably a lower barrier to, like, let's say, speaking a bit of chit chat in Finnish than just delving into work matters at first. But in any case, definitely a sort of attitude shift that it's absolutely acceptable to not speak the world's most perfect Finnish right from the get-go, or even at the end of the day, because like, if you start listening really closely, you'll also notice that Finnish people make silly grammatical choices, let's say, like that. So sort of, you shouldn't stress that. You shouldn't stress about grammatics too much. It also applies to Finns that you shouldn't be sort of too demanding on that front. Okay, well, more concrete measures at the university level. What you could do is, I think what would be great is to provide a financial incentive to actually learn Finnish. Because once you learn the language, then the networking part also becomes easier, because then you're not going to miss out on those opportunities that are not translated into English. So let's say you come here, you pay your tuition fees, and let's say at the end of each semester, you prove that you've progressed a certain amount, a certain pre-agreed upon amount in knowing Finnish. So you demonstrate a certain level, and then you get a refund, a partial refund probably, but basically you get a financial incentive to demonstrate that you've also learned Finnish. And I think the aim of that would be that at the end of the 2 years, you'd have like rudimentary Finnish skills that can help you get going and to understand at least like the surrounding world. And then that gives you a pretty good starting point for in the long run. So if you're staying in Finland, then you're pretty much set. You can use that basic set of skills to build upon, and then eventually I think it would be a good idea then that you would be capable of working in Finnish. So speaking about Finnish as a language to learn, of course I understand it's difficult. Everybody knows that. It's not impossible. It just takes a longer time basically, and that just requires patience on both sides, and understanding and support. And this is where we come to the second concrete measure that we could do at universities. Is we definitely should invest more in, first of all, different level language courses, so that you find the language course level that suits your needs and capabilities to keep you both motivated and challenged. And also I think the language courses should be definitely more frequent than they are at their current state, because if you're going to learn the basics of such a relatively difficult language as Finnish, it's going to require some elbow grease. It really is. It doesn't come on by itself. And probably, of course, then it might be a good idea if you feel that you're interested in your surroundings and interested in reading Finnish media and finding out about things. And that's the thing, of course. Look, if you're listening to this and you're thinking like, man, I just don't have the time, I'm not interested. Man, who am I to tell you to learn Finnish, to do such a thing? Of course, that's up to the individual. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that our system should be better equipped to support and promote those who want to learn the language, because in the long run, it's not Finnish language is not a barrier. It is the key to Finnish society, and this is why I want to be really explicit about this. It is the solution. It is the solution on how you feel like you're a part of the rest of society, and how you can contribute to your surroundings, and how you understand what's going on around yourself. And that would be a way to help people network and also just feel more home in Finland. Because I've gone through this both in Germany and in Sweden, that Germany, I had no basics of the language, but of course I was a kid, so it was probably a bit easier. As a teenager, not the easiest thing to do, to learn a new language, but with enough years, yeah, sure enough, it comes along, and that just definitely opens up all the doors in a completely different fashion than with just English. Same thing in Sweden. When I moved there, I knew some Swedish, so I had a starting point, and then I was at a university in Gothenburg, and then my boss basically gave me an ultimatum that, hey, Jonas, you have to learn Swedish now because you're going to be assisting at a course. And I was like, oh damn, it's like, I better roll up my sleeves. I think he was a great influence. He understood that I was up for the challenge. He was a fun guy. No, but anyways, it's hard for me to say. It really is hard for me to express how big of a solution the language is for you to get into the society. And also just like on a societal level in Finland, because said some people would prefer, let's say, increasing the influence of the English language in Finland. I think that's silly, because first of all, very few people who come here have English as their native tongue, so in the long run, what difference does it really make if you speak English or Finnish? And then we have to remember that Finland is a tiny country, and the Finnish language in terms of population is just a dust mite. So if we want to sort of keep that part of the rich tapestry of cultures in the world, I think we do have to work on it. We have to provide people with the tools to, first of all, to understand their surroundings and to partake in the culture, because cultures are never static. I think that's a fantastic thing, that if you come here, that you would then be equipped with the tools to sort of become a living, breathing part of this tapestry. I think that's a fun idea. That's basically my message is that we should be investing more in supporting and providing incentives to learn the Finnish language, because on so many levels it is the key to feeling more home in a place. When you understand the surroundings, you can help also develop Finland as a whole, and more concretely, just create those networks, and not just professional networks, but also just for mental well-being. It's great to have those outside of work networks, to which the language provides such a different key, because it also helps you sort of get outside of your niche, your social circle, and to get a broader view of things. And that's why it is such a powerful solution that we have to invest in it. And I encourage people to be open-minded, to be curious, to give it a try. Man, if it just doesn't work out, who am I to judge? That's not the point. The point again is that as a system, we should be more aimed towards supporting people learning Finnish, because it is the solution.